our standards which are so high, which can be globally comparable. But when we have our people living, they live in, like NSSO would say 60% of our urban population in cities, like in cities, are living in one-room tenement. So, like what we aspire, what we have, and how the urban policy should try to make a rational targets so that we reach there. So these are, like what they say in this that adequate housing is not affordable, and what you can afford is not adequate. So that is something that is
I but just taking forward from this, because during the pandemic, what has also happened is it has, of course, exposed the inequalities in a way where the work from home has become very difficult, especially for the women in the workforce. And we have seen them fall out of the workforce in large numbers. And many of these women who have fallen out, they find it very difficult to come back into the work systems. Moving forward in a post-pandemic world, how do you see the development, the designing of our cities happening in a way, be it through our housing communities, our apartments, to our workplaces, to be able to deal with these futuristic challenges, so that they also help the genders to come in into the workplace as equals?
okay. So when I said that 80% of the urban population are employed informally, and most of these people are women. Okay, so if you see the urban women's work participation rate in India, and I think this we should take it very seriously. Although we keep on saying we are a very progressive country, but our work participation of women is absolutely low. If you compare this even with the other countries, I think we need to really put that figure up. So I think it's less than 14%. And in the formal sector, in informally, then it's we are quite good. But this is what I would say, and why does this happen? This has nothing to do with the housing issues or anything. This is to do with the security issues. How do you allow your woman to go and work in some places which you feel that it's not secured? So most women are then being restricted because they would take up informal jobs where you would say that okay, you go and come back and do your reproductive role and productive role simultaneously. So, and this is applicable not only for people with a lower economic strata, but even for people who are educated. They also do not allow women to take a complete productive role. They would say mix it up with a reproductive role and productive role, take care of your family and everything, and like you have to do both. So I think we are changing. I would conclude this on a positive note. Paternity leaves in GIZ has become common. So we do have paternity leaves now. Otherwise, it was always maternity leaves, and the woman has to go out and come back only after 6 months. But by force now, GIZ says that 3 months the men also cannot work. So like these are the shifts in the policy level that you have to start doing that, and that would set out a culture. Culture is something that we are not born with. We also evolve cultures, and I think that is very important for us to recognize that possible for us to make a change.
Can I have some questions? And yeah, please go ahead. Rahul, do we have a mic? Yes. You want? Would you also like to share some thoughts of, what?
Yeah. Sakshi,
Hi, ma'am.
Sakshi, give your name.
Yes, sir. Sakshi Oza from Amity Institute of Defense and Strategic Studies. Ma'am, how big of a problem is bureaucracy when we talk about urbanization and housing problems in India?
That's a googly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I would say, like when you say something like this, bureaucracy is a problem. I would not identify anything as a problem because this is an equilibrium that you have. You have bureaucracy to check the political wing to check the bureaucracy, and then if they do not get sorted, then you have a legislative thing. No, so I think as a constitution, we have a perfect setup, and bureaucracy. We have to also see where which kind of social background most bureaucrats are coming from. So what Mr. Ambassador also said, like If you are able to speak in English, you live in a big city, and then you have an attitude that the people who is growing up in Jharkhand is lower than me, that is not acceptable because everybody has to get the equal, and bureaucracy has to enable the situation. That's their job, and not to create further rifts. So I would say bureaucracy is not a problem as such. The civil society has to ask those questions to the bureaucrats, and maybe that job can be. See, power is something that needs to be public policies. Everything is a contestation of power. So you cannot just say that this guy is a problem, but then to solve that problem, what the other one has to do. Maybe the civil society has to play a bigger role, which they are not doing. Maybe they are not asking the question. The media has to play a bigger role. So I would say I do not identify them as a problem. So
So, ma'am, in India, what would you identify as major challenges to urbanization post-pandemic?
see, okay, I would say I have compared per capita investment. I think we are not taking it seriously. If you go by the per capita investment, compare ourselves with the China because it's a similar scale. We are investing way less than what we need to do. Okay, and then infrastructure is something that people cannot do themselves. They can build their own houses. They can invest in education. They can study hard. They can work hard. But I cannot go out and build a road. That is not my job. I'm just not able to do it. So I would say urban, although it has come in the in the in our discourse, but is it that you can win an election, national election, with the urban votes? That needs to be thought about.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
If anything, there's more urban civic apathy to deal with in elections. We've just had today the Chennai City Corporation election results that have been coming in. And I'll come back to you for the question. Just a quick follow up because with the expansion of the city, staying on with urbanization and urban development problem, I mean, she asked about what are the challenges to urbanization. There are those who strongly feel that urbanization by itself today is a big problem to globalization, that we are moving so rapidly to our cities and we are not prepared infrastructure wise. We are not really paying attention to what's happening outside of our cities, and we don't have our space for our cities to grow. Look at what is happening with the man-made floods, a Srinagar situation, a Chennai situation. Where are we going? What is the path forward in dealing with these kind of critical situations?
I would say that when she asked now about the challenges, and I was thinking of first the resources, but I'll come to you on the point that you just said it. But when if you think about urban local bodies, they are the third tier of government, supposed to be the third tier of government. Can you tell me who is the mayor of Delhi? Who is the mayor? Who is my political representative? Who is the mayor? And I think except for Kochi's mayor, I do not know anyone else. Like how many years after this Tamil Nadu elections is happening for the local bodies? So the third tier of governance is not yet ready to. They are not politically empowered to face the kind of work they are supposed to be doing. And when you say that where are we going? I would say that it is not the either this or that. It is not about what is urban and what is rural, because many of our urbanization rate is still being kept at 30%. But if you think about it, we are 8,000 cities, out of which only 4,000 are legal ones or the statutory ones. The rest 4,000 are statutory cities. They are run by the rural governance. They are not run by the urban governance system. So I think this denial of urbanization for long has led us to this kind of a situation. Why don't we have the courage in saying that if this is a census town, let us try to make it a statutory town? Like let us go legal. Then you would be having all the benefits. You have to do the elections, you have to empower the urban local bodies, and all this stuff. So I think there is a denial of it, and this is not between either this or that. I would say we have to do. Urban is not in isolation. Urban and rural, and specifically the peri-urban, this is full. This is a regional development. This is in a full thing, no?
The development plans need not be mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
I just have the last 4-5 minutes. I know you have a follow-up question. Anybody else out there in the audience who has a comment or a question? Please come, Rahul, and then I'll go back to Ayan.
Thank you, ma'am. And it's an absolute pleasure having you with us. So, again, going back to sustainable urban development, there are two factors that affect us youth the most. First is affordable housing, especially when someone is coming down from a semi-urban area to New Delhi or Bangalore or Chennai or Mumbai first time. So, housing is actually a very big problem, especially quality housing. And the second is the question of last mile connectivity. So GIZ has been one of the largest development partners assisting the German government in urbanization, especially planned urbanization. So how does GIZ see these issues and how is GIZ addressing these issues?
I think last mile connectivity is also very important to ensure that you're able to boost your public transport. Most of us would hesitate to use a metro unless we know for sure that we don't have to get out of the metro and haggle with the auto wala bhaiya ki nahi itne paise mein jana hai, or whether it's secure at the late night hours to be able to take that auto back home.
Yeah, so as GIZ, we partner with national government and also at the state and the city level, and we work, we co-create, we collaborate. So it is the government of India's policy level things, and we give the so-called advices, technical support, and all those stuff. Um, I would say, Rahul, what you just said about the affordable housing, I think this is something that we need to decode. There is one is called official affordable housing. That we have a affordable housing policy, and we are also declared affordable housing as an infrastructure status. What does that mean? That means that the people who are making such affordable housing would get a incentive. Now, this affordable housing is not something that you and I can buy. Like it's basically for 25 lakhs, and this is not affordable for most of the people that we are getting say salary of 50,000 rupees or something. So it is not affordable. So where does the housing for this particular clientele gets reproduced, or where do it get done? It gets done informally. So it gets done in Besarai, it gets done in university area, and these are all informal. This is like there would be a person who has something, they would subdivide it into rooms, and that would then come to the market. So what I think is required is that a kind of a clear understanding about what is the standard that we can afford, what is the kind of specifications that we have. Like, do we expect that all of a citizen would be living in 1,000 meter square housing? Is that possible for in Delhi? Like, does all student want to live in a flat that is 1,000 square meter? Maybe not. So I think we do know we have to bring in variety in the market for students, for young migrants, for people who have just started their career, and we do not have that variety in the market. In the market, what we produce is a flat which is meant for a family who has the capacity of paying a EMI for 20 years, and when you get a bank loan, you have to be in a formal job. So there are many constraints that we have. So people are employed informally, they do not require that bigger house, they can do with a smaller one, and we have to bring in variety. And this variety, there's a gap in the market, in the formal market, and that gap is being filled up by the informally private, and that is expensive.
And I can so relate to this. I was just actually house hunting the day before yesterday for my niece who's just coming here because she's just started college in DU. And I was going through these houses in Karol Bagh area, Old Rajendra Nagar, and my heart goes out to each of you young students. We've also gone through those phases when we came into the city, and I know what hardships, not just about the stay process, but even trying to locate an apartment. And I think, as Ms. Das put it earlier, that what is affordable is not adequate, and what is adequate is not affordable. So it's a huge, huge problem. I'm just going to take one last quick question from you.
Can we have, Madam, the young
two
lady from Afghanistan?
I do want some of them to talk, but
Yusufi?
can okay, there are three of you. Can I have quick questions? I'll have to wrap it up in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good
evening, ma'am. I am Nilesh from Zakir Hussain Delhi College, Delhi University. Ma'am, since we are seeing there is a rise of unemployment in India, and we are talking about urban growing population, don't you think, ma'am, creating job opportunity in rural area, it helps in reduce the ma'am population booming in this city? And ma'am, what about the government intention? Since we are talking here, we are talking about the growing population, and government is on the another hand. If we look into the budget, they are not giving any security towards creating opportunity in rural or even the ma'am cities also. Okay, I think we should touch upon it briefly, but I'll take another question. Yeah, can you pass the mic there? Yeah.
Yes, my name is John Ali. I'm from Said Jamaluddin Afan High School in Delhi.
Right.
So my question is, since this program is for youth, and at the beginning of the program, I heard that 60% of the population of the world is youth, young people, and also in India, the most population is young. And the question is, as you, as a woman, as an activist, as an observer and researcher, what kind of barriers are for the young to be part of leadership? You know, young people, they are not in leadership. If you look at the old world leaders, they are all of them they are old, and they with their old mind. And if you heard about the world also, like Putin, that question was brought up, that Putin want to attack to a country. So for youth, is not digestible to some country attacking to other country without a reasoning. So the question is why the young people are not in the part of leadership to be as a leader? Even in India, if you look at the parliament after, and to the leaders, all they are, most of them they are old. So the question is, what are those barriers?
I'll take this last comment because then we will have to wrap up. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Ashrika Parthi from the University of Sydney. I wanted to ask you about what urban development can actually do to ensure safety of women, especially young women in our country. This was one of the major differences that I noticed when I was studying in Sydney. Young women feel safe when they're traveling. They feel connected as well as safe. As ma'am just touched upon the fact that, more than connectivity for women, it's about being able to travel late at night safely and not being concerned about the safety. How can urban development contribute to that?
So I think three great questions. One is the rural economy push to allow for good organization. If you could start with that.
This debate has been for long, and I think sometimes that this is a trap that parents do it. No, we want this or that, and you are just thinking, okay, this one or that one. It's not like that. It's never like that. That if you grow your rural area so well, then you would not come to the cities. It's not like that. Urbanization has a very different charm. You know, what is urbanization? Urbanization is about anonymity. Urbanization is about you. You can live like if you ask me, Aparna, I don't even have to tell you my surname. But try this thing in the village. It would not work like that. They would just take your name and figure out the entire 14th generation after and before. So like rural and urban has a very different mindset. And urbanization is not only about employment opportunities, it's also about other kind of access to opportunities. I would like to be what I want to be, and that would give me urban. So it is not that people are only coming from because of the push factor, they're also coming for the pull factor. Okay, so that is one, and I would never say this is either this or that. You have to make your rural areas better, but you also have to invest in urbanization enough. I take the second question.
Women's safety during
No.
urban development.
No.
And then we can touch on the political leadership part. Okay. Young people coming into leadership.
Okay, so the women's safety thing is a that's a long path. That's a long path. Some places you inherit it as a your ancestors hands on to it. So the gender relations are not same in the everywhere. So if you go to the say the northeastern part of India, it has a very different gender relations than if you go And this is because of our historical reasons and everything. But I am a firm believer of change, and the change can come only with education. So, what you have in Sydney, uh, this safety, but we also have other associated problems. I also lived in America for years, and I know that it's not that all that good. Like I also felt insecure there. All I'm saying is that it is possible for us to make a change, and change comes through when you bridge the inequity in a society. If you have a fractured society, this kind of things are bound to happen. So, and if you see the historical, women are a tool to take out your anger on. And I'm very sure Afghanistan and many other countries would tell you, like you rape a woman just to punish the father. It's a tool. Woman is a tool. So all I'm saying is that it's not the woman is a big, the problem. The problem is the society identifies women to take out their anger to punish the men. So, so this is the thing. I would say that this only comes through when you make the society more equitable.
Finally, in conclusion, encouraging youth in leadership roles.
I turn the question actually. You know, I think the youth is also complacent. They are not coming forward and take it. They want the easy go. I would not really say that, the old gatekeepers, I am bound to be a gatekeeper. If I become senior and I've worked hard and I have done all this stuff, I would say I would like to keep my status quo. I would like to maintain my status quo. That's the human tendency, you protect your own interest. But is the youth enough? I think they are too much into the also not having that going through the hardships and going through those strategic negotiations. So a lot also needs to be done from that. So I would say, yeah, I think you don't see it, and we can say that they are gatekeepers, they're not allowing. That is one part of the story. But just see, the given an opportunity, everybody wants to run out and take a job in a high-end job, and then that's the end of it. And oh, I will do some charity sometime. But who is there to fight elections? Because fighting election is not easy. That's not a very kind of a comfortable, zone that after educating and the kind of people you could deal with is not a very comfort zone. So I would say that youth has to take the plunge. They have to get politically, involved, and they have to take those difficult decisions in their life, and that has been done before. But I would say today a bit of a complacency because the people who have got it, they have also kind of got back to their own comfort zones.
I think that's a note that I'm going to end this conversation with. Of course, it's a sweeping statement. Okay, I will take one last comment from you. I absolutely ran out of time. Quickly, your mic to her, please. I do want to hear an Afghan voice there. And I think in India we have had cases of young lawmakers, but young say old ho gaye, they still haven't taken full responsibility of the party leadership. I'll not take names, but you've had global leaders also. So it's a mixed bag. And elections in India are expensive. You literally need to auction your lung, liver, kidney if you don't come from rich households. So please go ahead.
माइक
Speak aloud.
माइक
ऑन करना
Come here, Fatma.
ऑन करो
उसको बेटे ऑन करो समन जस्ट हेल्प her out. Yeah,
Yeah, take this.
very good. She's speaking. What's her name?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Fatima Farzan, one of the students of Sheikh Jamaluddin Afghan High School. Since you are a successful woman, I would like to ask you what's the greatest piece of advice for you to give me?
Very good. Very simple.
Fantastic question. But I just was thinking, am I successful? How do you measure success? No, but as a woman, I can give you one. Very filmy dialogue that it's basically everybody would convince you that you are not good enough. There are people who would always tell you that you are not good enough. Your nose is not the sharpest one. You don't look beautiful. But I'm telling you, it's possible. It's possible. Just believe in yourself and do what you want to do. Listen to everyone, but do what you want to do. And I think that is the courage that you require. That's it. And it's not the question of being successful or not successful. I have met so many women running business from the street, and the way they can do mathematics is amazing. So, depends. Just because we are sitting on the dais does not mean we are the only one who is successful. And this is no benchmark. But just live your life fully and do what you believe in it, and believe in yourself. No matter of people convincing you that you are not good enough, just don't fall into that trap. We are all good in our own rights. That's what I would like to say.
Yes, and when it comes to courage, I think all the Afghan women in this room, they deserve a special round of applause. Because hats off to each of you. I admire you greatly. It's a young population, and the kind of trauma, pain you've managed to stand up to, and yet be resilient and beautiful smile. So I think hats off to every single woman who has that spirit to fight it out. And thank you so much. I'm going to end this conversation here. You'll have to take your question out after the session. But thank you so much again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.